where do these creative concepts come from? I mean, there's a lot of like brain power that goes behind these, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think the creative concept comes from us just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be in the car business if it wasn't fun. I like the idea of making dreams and having the customer smile. So for us, it's collaborative. I mean, it is a full staff conversation of what if. And the Plinko board that you can kind of see in the background is a concept of that. I asked for an 8-foot tall Plinko board, and I got a 25-foot Plinko board. And I went back to find the guy that I had tasked with doing it, and I said, "Where have you been?" He's like, "Just bear with me when we go through this." That was 3 years ago, and we still have it. So kind of crazy ideas.
And it's a world record size too.
Yeah.
So what's the actual height on that?
So 25-foot tall. Yep.
Yeah.
So we
That's crazy.
We called Guinness and everything, and they were like, "Well, we would come out for this and this and this," and we were like, "So we're it?" And they're like, "Well, we would have to measure." Like, "We're it? We don't need you. We're good.
Yeah.
Let's roll."
Yeah, so Austin, you've been really involved in a lot of like the concepts creation, but also like the integration on social. When you look at some of the big strategies that you guys have done, like for example, you guys sold a car for $99. Where did that idea come from?
Man, I mean, that was wild. So I'll tell you this, like,
Sure.
a lot of these are just Zach's ideas. So with Zach's personality, he's like, let's do it as big as we can.
Yeah.
You know, my personality is like, how do we kind of rein this in and do it? But man, I tell you what, on that, it was just cool to see the concept come together, and then what the staff and team did to really blow it up. And I mean, we had people driving from how far?
Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had them from Pennsylvania.
Oh my word.
We had an individual, a group of like 4 come up. And they're like, "Well, we're here and all of our friends are coming too. We just got here to hold the spot in line." And it's like, I don't think you can do that, but you 4 are good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought, a guy was camping out front of the dealership for a week to get this
for
car.
multiple days.
And, he loved it. And it kind of like changed his life too, which was cool. It gave him the ability to drive and, Uber and do everything else that he was wanting to do.
I think he lived with 5 individuals and they only had 1 car.
Oh my word.
So the whole purpose was to do it for like his family and the rest of the people he's with. So those stories are ones where you're like, man, we'll do this next year, because that was so cool to have that testimony that makes the event even more than just an event. So
so let's talk about that one for a second. The $99 Toyota Corolla that you guys sold. For dealers who are listening to this and want to kind of do the same thing, what was the actual cost on that vehicle?
Yeah, so we owned it for $4,200.
Yeah.
So it was a 2008 with 120-some thousand miles on it. So
Sure.
Without a doubt, we could have taken it to the wholesale block out $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Yeah.
So
It's a Toyota.
Truly, yeah. And at the time, obviously, it was good luck finding anything less than $5,000 with the used car market. So for us, the mindset was we're going to lose $3,000 in marketing, $4,000 in marketing.
Exactly.
But what else could we get from it? So then the rest of the vehicles on the lot, we just priced down and went old school with paint pens and $699, $899. They were wholesale pieces. We had over 30 in inventory. So it wasn't just one car, $99. It was here's the rest of them. And what was amazing of it, you can check it on our social. Literally, we had 29 customers standing at the front door, and it was perfect because every salesperson got a customer. And then we paused the line and said, once everyone else has been handled and addressed, we'll come back. So every single salesperson got 2 customers that day. So it worked out perfect, where it was like, I couldn't have drawn it up better, where I didn't have 12 people get 2 customers, 3 only get 1.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it was almost meant to be.
Yeah, well, even with that concept, so you got enough foot traffic in for that Saturday to make it worthwhile. And a lot of times, dealers spend so much money on their marketing strategy, and they spend so much on linear TV and this and that, and you guys really just pulled something off without having too much more invested in that, which blows my mind.
Yeah, and I think part of what makes Zach and the team great here, innovation is one of our core values, right?
Yeah.
And so they're not afraid to take a risk and try something crazy.
and we do. Sometimes it backfires.
Sometimes it backfires, but the ones that do well, it's like, let's, just like what he said, let's look at this marketing spend. And then actually the ROI on that was way better than any sort of direct mail campaign or anything like that could have done. I mean, social platform is free.
Yeah.
We canceled all marketing. All third-party marketing is completely out the window here. So when it comes to advertising, it is truly just organic what we create. Wow. So there's no radio, there's no TV, there's corporate branding for Rohrman Automotive, but there's nothing for Toyota specific. And I got frustrated I felt like the ROI was always terrible.
Sure.
And then when I did have the TV on, this is like 8 years ago because we've been gone for so long, it was like, why is my commercial at 11:30 at night? Why is it at 4 in the afternoon? Like, I'm paying for prime time, yet I'm not prime time. Like, this is so dumb.
Why'd they do 3 back-to-back?
100%, yes. Or why did it go Rohrman Toyota, Rohrman Honda, Rohrman Kia?
Oh, true.
And I'm like, wait a minute, we just paid for the same 3 commercials, just rebranded. So
that's right. Well, I didn't even think about that. Because of how close geographically your stores
100%.
are, they'll compete for that attention.
Yep. So I was like, I'm done. I cut this. Of course, I got all the flack in the world. Your company's going to go down, your branding.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, then we got to go big. And that's where the idea from this. So Austin's been great. My team's been great because the number of times I've said, here's my idea. And it's like, let's back off that 2 degrees.
Zach, let's get down to earth.
And I'm like, well, we're not coming all the way down to earth, but two steps back, and then let's take one sideways. And it's like, all right, well, let's challenge this person on social media, or let's do this.
And it worked.
The funnier part too, like now you're starting to see Zach is the one like peeling back the ideas a little bit. Like we had this mud run that last year was ridiculous. We have like this empty property by the store, and Zach was like, let's do a little mud run.
Oh my
And it
word.
turned into like excavators and all sorts of stuff.
It's crazy. Companies donating excavators for us, and it's like, hey, I didn't actually plan on having an excavator, so now that we have one, let's dig a 15-foot hole. They're like, what about the gas lines? I was like, oh, yeah, someone needs to call them.
I remember Zach being like, well, I didn't want to spend this much money on the mud.
So that's usually, there's exactly how ideas come to be around here.
Yeah, but it's also cool that you have buy-in from, I mean, everybody here. Like, Austin's been so involved, like, on social with you guys. There's one piece that comes to my mind, which is you said, when the boss says go big, we go big.
Yeah.
Is what the piece was. And I'm like, oh, my word. Well, that's really literally what happens with your ideation process.
For sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's talk about your cornhole real fast. So you did $5,000 off for cornhole. Austin, can you describe what that looked like in the showroom?
I mean, that's going to be Zach, because that was all him and the sales team again of what that was. I mean,
so we just found a bunch of cornhole boards upstairs in we have a storage area.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I forgot we had these. And again, it was Memorial Day, so everybody's grilling out.
Yeah.
All the staff's here. How do we do it? And it started out as like 500. I'm like, 500 doesn't get anyone excited. That's standard dealership. Who cares about 500? Exactly. So then it turned into 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, and then it was just letting a customer come. And the best part was you could see a customer start negotiating a deal. We have an open showroom. I hate office ideas. I don't want customers in offices. I want them in the open. And they would start walking around the cornhole boards like they were sizing it up. So it's like, hey, we're working on trade numbers, and the customer's circling the cornhole board. So you're like, how cool is it to know that you got a deal when a customer's circling their cornhole board that they're going to throw at? So,
back in the day, they'd be circling the car.
Yeah,
but
right.
now they're like circling the cornhole, which tells you more. Isn't that about the experience instead of like the vehicle itself?
And that's our core values are driving relationships, awesome experiences.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, if my staff's bought into an awesome experience, the customer's going to have an awesome experience.
Yeah.
And we truly believe that the staff's experience needs to supersede the customer, because if my staff is in love with what they're doing,
that's right,
the customer experience is going to fall in line.
That's
and
right.
if we feel like the customer experience is the only thing we care about and the staff's miserable, then the experience is going to be terrible no matter what we throw at it. So
and that's a concept you hear over and over again, is that you pour into your employees and then your employees pour into your customers. That's the way that it should work.
And it works. That's the one for people listening that aren't doing it. It works.
Yeah, it works.
It's crazy to feel like you're doing it, but it works.
And I think that's part of the reason why I like to be involved in the stuff, with my
I
role.
love that, because like you're fixed ops, but you get involved in the variable side a lot from what I can tell.
Yeah, and I think it's just more supporting their efforts, and like if they can see more of us, corporate and the organization getting involved in this, like it only spurs them to do more. Because I know that's the future of the car business. There was a recent study, over 30% of customers, it was like the largest group that was influenced by YouTube or social media on their next car purchase. So obviously the more cars we sell, the more cars we service too. So, in the end, it pays dividends for me. It's definitely a long game. Zach's been at this for a long time. The trunk or treat is the one that comes to my mind of watching us get that off the ground the first year, not having very many people to, 3 years from that was, how much was the candy budget? And we had to go get more.
Yeah, 15 grand, and then we had to go back. So I mean, just small things like that. Our trunk or treat started in the showroom. Now we're over 7,000 guests that show up the day of.
Oh my word.
So it's just different. And then it's always great. Like we tie Habitat for Humanity into a lot of events, or the Lafayette Fire Department. So it's just a great corporate outreach as well, where our team can get behind it. And now the fun parts are like the whole staff dresses up. Yeah. So we have contests for who dresses their trunk up, and their families are involved and kids are involved. And that's where I find the joy in it, is like, forget about the ROI of what we get in it. I could care less if we sell a car almost on all the events we do.
Sure.
Because truly, it's like when my staff comes fired up and they're arriving at 8:10 in the morning versus 9:05.
That's right.
And they're here setting up and ballooning up and doing the small things that you would want as a dealership. That's when you go, okay, we're definitely profitable here.
Yeah. Well, again, like it's the experience side of it for your employees. Like you created an environment where they want to show up and succeed on this. So Habitat, you mentioned, your trunk or treat. Another thing that comes to mind is you guys, so you're not that far from Purdue.
No.
Yeah.
Another thing you guys did recently is a meet and greet with Purdue. And I think you guys might have an NIL set up with a few of those guys.
Yep.
Yeah. So can you guys talk about that for a second?
Yeah, that's been really fun to have, access to some of the different players, and, we provide vehicles for them, and we service them and those sorts of things. And so that's been a really unique part of being here and where we're located. So that meet and greet, we had a couple of the basketball players, that came out to Fieldhouse here in town and just did a signing. Obviously they had a huge run in the basketball national championship. So we wanted to give the community access to those players. And, they were awesome because I tell you what, they were signed on for 2 hours, and then we had to extend the event.
Yeah.
And every single one of the players said, yes, we'll stay. Right.
Yeah.
So, with those contracts, it's time. They obviously get paid for it. They're busy. They have schoolwork, they have practice, but the fact that they stayed, I think just really shows the support that, and the love that they feel from the community too.
Yeah, that's great. So how many people showed up for that event, the meet and greet?
Oof, what was the final count?
More than what we expected, because we stayed an extra hour and a half and had to turn people away. I mean, the line was over 2 hours to get in.
I remember seeing the drone footage. It was so long. It was
We
nuts.
did not expect that. That was one of those ones we did not expect.
No,
to
and
blow
I
like
think we
that.
had accommodated in our head like around the 5,000
Sure.
people mark. And I still think even after everything, even after the players stayed, I think it was like an hour and 20 minutes extra.
Wow.
We probably turned away 500 people, and just saying, hey, I'm so sorry, for you to get in is going to take another hour. And at the very end, we just turned the lines loose. We had lines lined up for them all to go through, so it was organized. And at the end, we were like, hey, everybody's not going to get a chance. Have at it. And it was like a mad dash.
Here. Yeah.
They all run.
Yeah, so it was one of those where you go, like, how do we put ourselves in a spot where we can affect the community?
Yeah.
And for that, I mean, the conversation is to get the players out for everything. Let's say it was $2,500.
Yeah.
Have 7,000 people come in and just have our name affiliated with it. That replaces advertising. I don't need to advertise on TV for the one household that may buy a car. Now I'm in the name of everybody. So it's those creative ways of where we're trying to find how to make a difference in the automotive industry.
And I think just focusing on giving instead of always taking.
You're going with the hand first, saying, hey, here's something.
Yeah.
And some people receive it very well. Other people don't. But, the reason we do it again is, hey, we just want to give, and we want to show our support for you. And hopefully next time you need your car serviced or need a new one, you think of us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even like the meet and greet, for example, how many people took photos in front of the backdrop that had Rohrman on it, right?
Yeah. There was no one took photos in front of a car. I can confirm that. There was no cars that anyone stopped and went, you know what, that's a nice Highlander. No, it was, that's a really nice basketball player I just watched for the last 30 games.
Yeah, that's right.
And now my kid gets to get a photo with him. So that's where we truly believe, like Austin said, how can we just provide that giving?
Yeah.
And that at the end of the day, hopefully our name is in your brain and going, hey, they're a great company. Let me go service with them. Let me go buy a car. Let me give them a shot.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's been amazing that employment has been probably the biggest gain we've had. Mm-hmm. The people stopping and going, hey, I was at this event and that was so cool. I want to try to see what you guys are doing.
Wow.
And there's been a lot of times where the conversations don't end up agreeing and going, hey, there's more to it than just events.
Yeah.
Like we do actually sell cars, we do service vehicles, we do sell parts.
Yeah.
So it's like we do more than just the Purdue event, or we do more than just the sales event. But the opportunity we've had and the number of people we've hired that are like, hey, I have a better paying job in this auto dealership, but I would rather be a part of your culture, your team, because of what you're doing. So
because of the investment in people that you have.
100%.
Yeah, that's nuts. Well, like, what advice would you give to dealers who should be investing more into things like that, Zach?
Don't say no. I mean, the best ideas we've had have literally come from other people, and I may have had to tailor those away.
Sure.
So it's saying, hey, legally we can't do this or this, so let's go this route and pivot here. But it's just been trying it. And I think that you're always trying to figure out ROI in dealership operations. I've never sat down with a meeting with my ownership group, and they've never said to me, what's your net statement? What's your profit line look like? So it's getting into that conversation of like, hey, what's the big picture look like, and what are we trying to accomplish? And when we shifted it away from money to people, there's no measurable on it. You couldn't come to me and say, our trunk or treat event has 7,000 people in here. How many cars do you sell?
Yeah.
Because if you said that to me, my response would be 0, and we didn't even crack the doors. Like, we leave one employee inside the building to usher where the restrooms are, and that's it. So we don't even attempt it, but we know that 7,000 kids, adults, everything are going to buy a car at some point.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that Rohrman Toyota's in their name, in their mouth, in their brain, so that we have that opportunity.
Exactly.
And I think this business is so month to month, and it's so short term that this is really more long term thinking.
That's
so
right.
anytime you're investing in your employees, like, just realize it's a 3 to 5 year process. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
That we started this a long time ago, right? And we're still refining it and still getting better at it, but it's not a next month this is going to be fixed.
Exactly.
I mean, Trunk or Treat is in what, 7th or 8th year?
This will be year 8.
This year? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, last year we were able to donate over $40,000 to Habitat for Humanity. And I remember it was just so funny. We handed them a check and said, hey, here's the first half of it. We're waiting for the other half to clear and finish out expense.
Yeah.
They said, another half?
There's more?
Yeah. I said, we made that very clear to you. They said, like, this is enough money. We didn't expect there to be any more. We're like,
wow.
Well, we just have to wait for, like, us cleaning up everything and paying for all the porta pots to be picked up and all the rest. Like, once that's done, you guys will have the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference is, like, now the community has come in and, like, we'll donate $5, $3, $10, $20 to be a part of it. And we don't care. It's not profit for us. It's truly how do we give to the community because we sell cars for a living. We're an automotive dealership. Like, we definitely can change lives, but we don't impact lives like Habitat or the fire department or the Lafayette Police. So we want to give those organizations the opportunities that we're blessed with and able to assist it.